The Grips of Wrath. John Steinbeck. Assi. Title of the book, Gazap Uzumlere. Original name, The Grapes of Wrath. Author of the book, John Steinbeck. Country, USA. Year. Published, April 14, 1939. Number of pages, 540. Book type, novel, historical, emotional, and political fiction. Movie, yes. Subjects: the economic crisis of the 1930s in America, the drama of humanity, the working people from the perspective of the Joad family, reflected in the general viewplace. First in Oklahoma, then along Route 66, and finally in California. Time, 1930s. Subject: the Grapes of Wrath. It began in America during the World Economic Crisis of 1929. In the difficult years when small landowners were deceived by banks and merchants, people were forced to leave their homes due to drought, poverty, tyranny, or hunger, and when 3 million people settled in California to start a new life in the 1930s, it also tells the story of the disintegration of the individual family and how immigrants became a single family. Heroes: Tom Joad, family, Tom Joad, Casey, Ma Joad, Pa Joad, Uncle John. Tom: will, renunciation, responsibility. Mother: mother, sagacity, mother state. Father: a rolling bush, helplessly resigned to the loss of his power. Uncle John: a poor messiah who could die for all the sins of humanity. Al: youth, lust, ambition, and desire. Casey: he's a redhead, not a priest. Connie: badass. Noah: innocent. Ruthie and Winfield: the kid is just a kid. Rose of Sharon: whiny but pregnant. Main idea of the book: it tells the economic crisis periods of the 1930s in America and the drama of humanity in an impressive language. Theme of the novel: change, family, and betrayal. Impact on the era. John Steinbeck's classic novel, The Grapes of Wrath, gave voice to tens of thousands of Americans in the Midwestern farming states affected by the Dust Bowl tragedy. The novel and its subsequent 1940 film version remained a part of the American consciousness for the next decade. Analysis of the novel. John Steinbeck's undisputed greatest work, The Grapes of Wrath, which earned him the Pulitzer Prize, was a shock and a source of great controversy when it was first published in 1939. In this epic novel, which tells the story of the struggle of the masses who were impoverished and dispossessed due to the capitalist transformation of agriculture and the crises during the Great Depression that affected the whole world, Steinbeck focuses on one of the thousands of working families who were forced to leave their homes and take to the road due to hunger, misery, and tyranny. The Grapes of Wrath, which describes the resilience and dignity of humanity in the midst of dashed hopes and joys that turned into sorrow, and criticizes capitalism to the core, is one of the most important works of the 20th century. Evaluation of the events and persons in the book. Like the characters he designed, Steinbeck grew up in a poor family, and in many of his works he portrays the life of a working man and the importance of labor. He is a complete realist, which means that his works act as a mirror and reflect reality. Most of us hear sentences from our families and elders that start with "in our time." They start explaining the difficulties they experienced individually in their time, one by one. This is exactly the case in this work. The economics. Depression and crisis period experienced by the Joad family is described. Steinbeck's journey to California with the Joad family is a journey of hope. It is not just the Joads who embark on this journey of hope. Steinbeck also travels, and so do we. The destruction of their homes and labor in a capitalist order, a story of migration and the importance of family and solidarity. When grandfather goes to California, he dreams of the grapes that are as sweet as honey that he will never get enough of, the oranges that resemble the sun and the golden sun of California. He is burning with dreams of these. Rose of Sharon, who is expecting a baby, dreams of the house where she will live with her nuclear family. The hope that mother has cultivated that everything will be okay and that her family will live together again. These hopes give them the strength to bring them back to life. Family is the most important thing a person can care about and take care of. Family is literally a person's closest and most vivid history. Just as a person should take care of their history, they should also take care of their family and ensure that unity is not broken. In this work, the vineyard of those grapes is mother. It is the body that keeps the grapes standing, meets their needs, and takes them to their destination. The journey of hope could best be described in this way. Steinbeck's use of the economic crisis of that period and the hardships experienced by the people, based on real events instead of fictional ones, teaches readers both history, facts, pain, and hope. Unfortunately, this hope does not lead them to a good ending, but it serves as a medicine to overcome the difficulties they face and to ease the pain they experience, even if only a little. In a place where they are seen as refugees, being called dirty Okies does not discourage them, and they work and strive with hope. Okie is an insult and a racist expression used to refer to workers from Oklahoma. Families who work for a wage that does not fill their stomachs and does not please anyone, but when they sit down at the table, they strive to have something to eat for the whole family. Not giving up their traditions and lifestyles reveals their loyalty to their Siur, homeland and past. Summary of the novel. The farmers in Oklahoma are in a very difficult situation. Due to economic reasons, farmers who have to grow cotton all the time, their lands that are shared with the landowners become barren and lose their productivity. For this reason, the farmers who are in the position of workers are removed from the farms by the landowners. The main reasons for this situation are adverse weather conditions, the wrong attitudes of the land banks, and the mechanization in agriculture. Some farmers leave their lands voluntarily, some involuntarily, and head towards the fertile lands of California. Everyone who embarks on this journey hopes to escape poverty. Tom Joad and his family are among those who set out on this journey. 4 years ago, Tom Joad killed someone while trying to protect himself, so he was sentenced to 7 years in prison. But due to his quiet and calm demeanor and good behavior in prison, he was paroled after 4 years. While in prison, Tom did not hear from his family, and since he could not read or write, he could not write letters. After Tom was released from prison, he decided to return to his family. On the way, he hitchhiked and jumped on a truck and, although it was very difficult to get there, he finally made it home. Tom immediately came to Oklahoma and brought Jim Casey with him. However, when he reaches his home, he sees nothing but ruins, dilapidated houses, and drought. His family, like other farmers, could not cultivate the field due to the drought and were expelled by the rich farm owner because the land was not suitable for other crops. In other words, they share the same fate as other farmers. In the meantime, Tom sees the only person left there, the priest, and learns where his family went. He says he is going to California to work in a vegetable and fruit garden. They set off on their journey to California without delay. They make this journey with a very old exchange truck found by Tom's younger brother, Al. Tom's family sold their last remaining belongings, bought a very old minivan with their last money under difficult conditions, and set off for California. Not everything goes as Tom's family imagined and planned on the road. On the first day of the journey, the grandfather's heart stops. His sister gives birth to a dead baby. Bad things always happen to them. They experience many misfortunes. As if that were not enough, they see people who have been to California before and returned, because they saw that the situation there was not good, but they do not give up on the journey. They take refuge in a camp and experience various problems there. In the following days, Tom's mentally retarded brother Noah secretly escapes, and the grandmother dies while they are passing through the desert. Unfortunately, their experiences do not end there. After this difficult journey, they arrive at the immigrant camp. The people do not want these immigrants here. They constantly cause problems. There is unemployment here too. No one can find a job. However, Tom, who thought that everything would be fine when she was released from prison, is saddened by the fate that she has lived so far from her dreams. One day, someone comes to the camp and says that he is looking for someone to pick apples in another area, and that anyone who wants a job should sign up. The camp leaders ask for the man's identity, and an argument breaks out between them. The police arrest the campers who started the argument. Tom is also involved in the argument, but he escapes and Jim Casey surrenders in his place. The Jodes can no longer stay in this camp and go to a government camp where temporary agricultural workers are located. The people here are also against immigrants. The Jodes, who are also suffering from unemployment, leave this place as well. They find a job picking peaches on a farm. They all work, but what they earn is barely enough to cover their throats. They oppose this injustice and seek their rights. Jim Casey is at the forefront of those seeking rights. They clash with the police, and Jim dies. Tom is injured in the head, but the police also wound him. Tom, who has already been paroled, now hides in the tent all the time. Because of these events, the bosses reduce the workers' wages even more. That's why the Jodes leave. On the return journey, they find work picking cotton with another group. And because the workers' rights are constantly violated, Tom decides to take over the leadership of those who seek rights like Jim Casey, who died, and leaves them. Another reason for his departure is that his younger brother tells the campers about Tom's past. If Tom doesn't escape, he will be arrested by the police and put in jail. When autumn comes, floods occur and the people in the camp are devastated. Tom's pregnant sister Rose gives birth to a stillborn baby due to these negativities. The Jodes, whose truck is unusable, do not want to stay in this camp any longer and leave on foot. On the way, they come across a father and son sheltering in a place like a barn. The man is about to die of hunger. Rose, who cannot breastfeed because her baby is dead, milks her breasts and saves the dying man by giving him milk. Personal opinions about the book. The Grapes of Wrath, a socially charged work that criticizes America's economic order, is considered John Steinbeck's masterpiece. The work, whose style and structure are built on very solid foundations, has a strong language and a gripping narrative. This is a very impressive book that tells the story of the human drama in an impressive language, the breaking up of individual families and the coming together of all immigrants as one family during the difficult years when the 1929 world economic depression began in America, when small landowners were deceived by banks and merchants, when people were forced to leave their homes because of drought, poverty, tyranny, or simply hunger, and when 3 million people settled in California in the 1930s to start a new life. Quotes from the novel The Grapes of Wrath. "We can't do our job like this. The bank, that huge giant, must always make a profit. It can't wait. It dies. No, taxes work. If the giant can't grow, it dies. It can't stay the same size. We know all this. But it is not us who did this. It is the bank. The bank is not like a human being. It is not like a landowner who owns 50,000 acres of land. It is not a human being anyway. It is a giant. Wealth means man. It is stronger than him. Man is small, not big. Only man's wealth is bigger than him. Man is the servant of his wealth. Remember this in this way. I guess you don't know what happened to us in recent years. Dust fell and destroyed everything. We couldn't even get enough crops to plug an ant's ass. Debts piled up in the bank. This is the work of Shawnee Toprak and Animal Products Partnership. I took orders from them," he said. "Who is this Shawnee Soil and Animal Products Partnership?" I said. "He is not a human being. It is a partnership," he said. "A person becomes crazy. There is no human being to read. Everybody's tired of looking for someone to attack. He's tired, but I'm not tired. I will read all of them. I'm staying here." What did they take from us? Land? We know what that is. No one has had a good crop here for years. But those sons of bitches sitting at their desks, they tore the people apart and divided them for their own profit. Yes, they did, completely. How can one speak of God to them when their own souls are being trampled upon and engulfed in sorrow? They need help. They must live before they submit to death. I don't have an ounce of respect for any of those guys anymore, he said. We have a government that only looks at us as a source of solid profit. This is the land of freedom. Oh, really? Let's try freedom a little. They say you are free enough to give money and blow the whistle. Because man, apart from all organic and inorganic things in the universe, goes beyond what he does, climbs the steps of the concept, and rises above his achievements. And the corporations and the banks dug their own hole, but they didn't know it. The fields were fertile, but hungry men roamed the roads. The barns were full, but all the poor children had osteoporosis and pellagra boils all over them. The big corporations didn't know that there was a hair's breadth between hunger and anger and resentment. The grapes of wrath that were growing in the soul of the people were ripening and growing heavy, and were preparing the vintage. Information about the author. Date of birth, John Ernst Steinbeck III, February 27, 1902, Salinas, California, USA. Date and place of death, December 20th, 1968, age 66, New York, USA. Nickname, fame, occupation, novelist, author, nationality, USA, period, 1929-1969, author's literary movement, realism. Notable works, The Grapes of Wrath, East of Eden, Of Mice and Men, The Meadow of Eden, The Never-Ending Quarrel, Cannery Row. Notable awards, Nobel Prize in Literature, 1962, Pulitzer Prize, 1939, National Book Award, 1939. Works of the author. Nobel Altın Kupa, Cup of Gold, 1929. Cennet Çayırları, The Pastures of Heaven, 1932. Bilinmeyen Bir Tanrıya, To a God Unknown, 1933. Yukarı Mahalle, Tortilla Flat, 1935. Bitmeyen Kavga, Dubious Battle, 1936. Fareler ve İnsanlar, Of Mice and Men, 1937. Kırmızı Midilli, The Red Pony, 1937. Uzun Vadi, Long Valley, 1932. Gazap Üzümleri, The Grapes of Wrath, 1939. Ay Battı, Aysız Geceler, The Moon is Down, 1942. Sardalya Sokağı, Cannery Row, 1944. İnci, The Pearl, 1947. Aşk Otobüsü, The Wayward Bus, 1947. Alev, Burning Bright, 1950. Cennetin Doğusu, East of Eden, 1952. Tatlı Perşembe, Sweet Thursday, 1954. Pippin IV'ün Kısa Süren Saltanatı. Story, Amerika ve Amerikalılar, 1966. Senaryo, Unutulan Köy, Forgotten Village, 1940. Viva Zapata, 1952. Don't forget to like, subscribe to my channel, and turn on notifications for more of my videos. Thank you.